What is up, YouTube? It's Rahul. I am back with another video for you guys today. Evolving Skies is going to be starting on Thursday, Friday. One of those 2 days, content will start. 2 weeks. If this video gets at least 50 likes, I'm going to promise you the 2 weeks of content. I might not do any videos until Thursday or Friday, just because I don't want to get burnt out a little bit. Etc., etc. I've got a really cool project I'm working on the side. Hopefully I can show you guys that soon. So without further ado, delay, whatever, you know the drill. I don't know what I'm saying half the time. Let's jump in to the video. Today's video is going to be Evolving Skies and my top 10 cards. I only felt it would be fitting that I talk about my top 10 cards going into the set. What I'm the most excited for, especially with deck building, how I want to kind of do some stuff. There is going to be that 3-week block where we have our rotation does not happen yet, so we get to have these cards in tandem. So I'm going to try to do, in this 2-week period, a video each day where one deck is going to be in the current format standard, and then one's going to be post-rotation. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about that, how you want me to do it, any ideas you have for me to try out, any ideas you want me to, like any cards you want me to try. So let's jump into it. Now, coming in at number 10, I have got, I'm going to move my camera real quick. Coming in at number 10, I've got Sylveon VMAX. Now, Sylveon VMAX is also good because of the Sylveon V paired with it. I'm going to kind of make the lines one entity. Max Harmony is really good, and also Sylveon VMAX gives a additional dynamic to the Rapid Strike decks that it didn't have previously, where you can just kind of cap off a lot of damage with Max Harmony. Gives a Max Harmony into a Urshifu style deck with the Octillery engine. Makes it a lot easier to kind of play than that whole Blaziken, Zeraora, you know, everything. Now you can kind of thin those lines down a little bit and kind of focus on Sylveon, as well as Urshifu as your main attackers, which I think they are both just significantly better than everything else that the Rapid Strike mechanic has to offer right now. Coming at number 9 is Pumpkaboo. Now, this guy is not probably a traditional card you'd see on a top 10 list, but I'm thinking more post-rotation when I made this list. So Pumpkaboo coming in has that Pumpkin Pit ability, which is kind of like resetting Hole on the March Shadow that we have, but not exactly, because when you play it onto your bench, you may discard the stadium from play, but this guy doesn't go anywhere, so he just stays on your bench. He's stuck there. Unfortunate, right? But when you're playing cards like, or decks like Shadow Rider Calyrex or something else that heavily relies on abilities, and if Path to the Peak becomes very popular, this Pumpkaboo is Fog Crystal searchable, Quick Ball searchable, just Level Ball searchable. This card is very easily accessible. Yes, it does eat up that bench spot, but you would rather just have this guy on your bench to deal with a Path to the Peak and find yourself in a better spot. And now if you're playing this in a deck that has like Inteleon or some other engine that can also use scoop up nets, very easy to kind of get him off the board, recycle it a little bit. Coming in at number 8, I have Suicune V. Now, Suicune V, I think, is a very strong card. I was struggling on where to put it. I think this card could go up in potential as well, because Fleet-Footed is just a very strong ability. Once per turn, you may draw a card if this is in your active spot. Fleet-Footed is just very strong and can be splashed into pretty much any deck that plays Air Balloon already, which almost every deck should be playing Air Balloon. And then Blizzard Rondo for a water and a colorless is 20 plus 20 for each bench Pokemon. Again, a very splashable attack if you're already playing Auroras. Any deck with water energy can very easily fit Suicune in. Suicune can be its own deck. Suicune Altaria, Suicune Altaria Ludicolo, Suicune Ludicolo. A lot of cool ideas I have planned for this guy. Blizzard Rondo, very good attack. 2 prizers over the 3 prizers, also very important. Fleet-Footed gets you the cards. Overall, just a very strong card. Pairs well with Melanie, pairs with a lot of things. I think this card can be higher, but the limiting factor is obviously the 2 retreat cost. And also, I don't know exactly where I want to put this besides the deck on its own right now. Number 7 coming in is Zinnia's Resolve. Now, this is a card that a lot of players are not the most keen on. I really like Zinnia's Resolve because, well, you may play this card only if you discard 2 other cards from your hand, draw a card for each of your opponent's Pokemon. Now, this card feels like Erica's Hospitality with a little bit of a buff. Now, I really liked Erica's Hospitality for the entirety of its duration, even during the first stages of Pikarom, even during a couple of the Zoroark decks. I was playing Erica's Hospitality because I really liked the card and how it functioned, and I don't like discarding cards all the time. I don't think it's worth it to discard cards all the time. So a card like Zinnia's Resolve can very much be splashed into decks that rely on building their hand. I think Zinnia's Resolve could strictly be better than other cards in Shadow Rider Calyrex, for example, where you don't want to discard your hand. Ice Rider Calyrex, for example, where you don't want to discard your hand, but you just want to get those waters into this card for Melanie in upcoming turns. Just fill your hand up again. Maybe even Rapid Strike. I genuinely think Zinnia's could be that 4th supporter that breaks into that triangle of supporters we have right now, Boss, Marnie, Research. I think Zinnia's is definitely one of those supporters that can break into that mold, can be one of those really strong cards. Number 6 is Medicham V. Now, Medicham V by itself is not a very strong card, so maybe Medicham and Suicune should be switched around. But the Yoga Loop attack on Medicham, put 2 damage cards on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by this Pokemon's attack, take an extra turn. Now, Rapid Strike Urshifu can set up a lot of numbers really easily. Rapid Strike decks in general can set up those numbers really easily, especially with Inteleon, especially with the Snipes. So Yoga Loop becomes a really, really, really scary attack if your opponent ever gets it off. Now, it feels very difficult to get off, obviously, but if Yoga Loop actually happens, well, you could be cooked. That's all I'm saying. This guy who looks like a chicken could cook you. Number 5, Stormy Mountains. Once during your turn, you may search for a basic lightning or a basic dragon, put it on your bench. Now, if you guys are paying attention to Evolving Skies or brand new to Evolving Skies, there's 2 very good evolving electric and dragon type cards that are coming into this set. Rayquaza VMAX and Flaaffy. So being able to search them very easily is very nice. Even in this current rotation format, Stormy Mountains gets really strong in decks that could utilize maybe in Pikarom, maybe in something else, just decks that could utilize these 2 typings. So maybe Stormy Mountains is also good pre-rotation, but post-rotation for sure, Stormy Mountains becomes like if I'm playing Lightning type or I'm playing a Dragon type deck, this becomes like an auto 3-4 of, kind of like Brooklet Hill was in fighting type decks during its duration. Now, Raihan is my number 4. Raihan is my daddy. Raihan, you can play this card only if your Pokemon are knocked out last turn. Attach a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon, search your deck, and get a card and put it in your hand. That seems pretty insane. You basically get a free computer search and an energy attachment. It's like Rosa. You're just missing one of the pieces from Rosa, but you do get any card and an attachment, which kind of accelerates it in a lot of situations. So decks that can find this Raihan card, decks like potentially Ice Rider, decks like Rapid Strike Urshifu, makes it really easy for them to find what they need. And with cards coming out that are more niche, like Toy Catcher, all these one-of niche cards that seem very strong, I think Raihan only serves to get stronger as we see these one-ofs get printed that are very niche and have these very much like small scenarios. But if they can be pulled out with Raihan or pulled out with like an Inteleon line, you can make this really big combo turn payoff just by having Raihan in your deck. So Raihan is a very combo-oriented deck, and he's really cute, so I really like this card. Rayquaza VMAX is my number 3 card. Now, Rayquaza VMAX is a very self-sustaining card. I have a lot of really cool ideas with it in pre-rotation and post-rotation. Now, post-rotation, it's going to be a little bit of difficulty because Rapid Strike Urshifu exists in the post-rotation format. Your Flaaffys are not going to survive for very long. But with the Azure Pulse ability, you can discard your hand and draw 3 cards, which sets it up really perfectly because Max Burst says you may discard as many fire or lightning from this Pokemon does 80 times the number you discard, 20 plus 80. Now, with Flaaffys, you're pretty much accelerating 2 to 3 per turn. With an attachment from hand, you are almost certainly one-shotting almost any V Pokemon. VMAXs, you might need a little bit of extra dig, but this is where cards like Raihan come into play. This is where cards like, other just like Rose Tower, like these cards can come into play really well as well because you're already discarding your hand. You're just going down to 0-card hands. So you don't mind just going Azure Pulse or like Rose into a 0-card hand into the Azure Pulse to just draw a fresh 3 out of nowhere. So it synergizes super well with like Rose in the post-rotation format. It synergizes super well with Flaaffy in the post-rotation format. In the pre-rotation format, it synergizes incredibly well with Welder, Victini VMAX, like all these cards that can really just help you get the ball rolling. Rayquaza VMAX is a very self-sustaining card, and I don't think we've ever seen a really bad Rayquaza ever get printed. So very excited to see this card in play. Also, just the alt art and the other arts are very gorgeous as well. Now, Flaaffy comes in at number 2. I think Flaaffy goes higher precedence over the Rayquaza VMAX because it has a more higher splashability in terms of any other deck that can use lightning energy, any other deck like a basic toolbox with lightning energy, or another lightning type attacker that may come into the format with the VMAXs coming up soon, V-Unions coming up soon. I don't really know what could potentially be really strong. Celebrations is featuring Pikachu cards, so I haven't seen all the leaks yet, anything like that. So maybe Flaaffy can make some of those cards viable. Dynamotor, a very strong ability in all of its time frames. When Electric had it, very strong. Electric Mewtwo, Electric Zekrom, Electric Terrakion. When it came into the Bronzong form, it was paired with Aegislash, a Metal Toolbox style deck. And then as soon as it came into Bronzong was even splashing into decks like Night March, Vespiquen, all these like one-prizer decks, which is the idea behind Flaaffy as well. And then when it came into the Malamar format, we all know what Malamar did to everybody. It was very oppressive, it was very dominant. But abilities like a Dynamotor do give life to a lot of one-prize decks and single-prizer decks. So it's very important to see what happens with the Flaaffy. As of right now, there's no bench protection, so the Flaaffys do get picked up very easily by Rapid Strike Urshifu. But if Flaaffy-style decks can deal with every other deck in the format, maybe it's still really worth it. Maybe it's going to be really worth it. So Flaaffy is definitely a card I want to experiment with, see what kind of hidden combos can come out of Dynamotor. Now, my number 1 Best card in the set, without a doubt, is my boy, my favorite little boy right here, Umbreon VMAX. Now, Umbreon VMAX has the Dark Signal ability. Every single Umbreon has had some sort of an ability that really like pulls it, like Umbreon EX back in the day, Luxray level X, Lycanroc GX. All these cards have been very strong with the Dark Signal or like a Gust ability, bringing something into the active spot. This gets a very splashable card into a lot of decks. A 2/2 line can very easily be slotted in. Any deck that already plays Aurora Energy or Darkness Energies can also use that max Darkness attack to kind of deal with Shadow Rider Calyrex very easily. Yeah, not very hard for this deck to be working. Single Strike, also synergies, so you can play it with the Houndooms, just make it its own deck. Play it in a deck with the Single Strike Urshifus as well. I don't know. This card is just absolutely bonkers. It's going to be very good, and the Grass type weakness is not very relevant, so it's going to be really strong across its entire time frame. That being said, thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed the video, remember to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and if I get enough likes on this video, I promise you guys enough content for like 2 to 3 weeks. Let's make it this way. If it's 50 likes, it'll be 2 weeks. If I get 100 likes on this video, then I will do 3 straight weeks of content until the after the Pog Championships into the day of rotation. We'll do 3 straight weeks, and I will also leak a little bit of details about that special project I'm working on. I'm hoping that project is done in the next 2 weeks. There's some groundwork that needs to be done. It's really, really exciting. But if you guys are enjoying the content, as always, remember to hit all those socials up, those subscriptions. Catch me on Twitch streaming with the new set coming up starting this weekend. But until we see each other again, goodbye, guys. That's Rahul, and that'll be all for today.